That's exactly
So
right.
I can relate to what you're saying.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order a meeting of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust. First order of business would be to approve the minutes of the January 30th meeting. I would recognize a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Next item is a consent docket. You have several items there. I would recognize a motion to approve the consent docket subject to individual consideration.
Move to approve the consent docket, subject to individual consideration.
It's been moved and seconded.
Second.
We'll vote. Approved. Next item is a concurrence docket. I'd look for a motion to approve it subject to individual consideration and recognize a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, it's approved. Items for individual consideration. First, we have a presentation on sanitary sewer and asset management and condition assessment services.
Chairman, Rachel Pierce is here to give that presentation.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Some minor technical difficulties. Good afternoon, Chairman and Trustees. I'm Rachel Pierce. I'm the Asset Manager for the Utilities Department. Today I'm going to be giving a brief presentation on the Sewer Asset Management Program. I'll be going over the wastewater system, the asset management program, the program overview, the components for inspection and assessment, the annual deliverables, and then the next steps. So as y'all are aware already, we have 5 primary basins that comprises of 2,861 miles of gravity sewer mains and over 68,000 manholes. Our goal with the Sewer Asset Management Program is to be proactive and ensure optimal performance with minimum expenditures. So we're going to embark on the Sewer Asset Management Program that has 4 components. The first component is going to be the condition assessment. The primary goal of this step is to be proactive to identify the condition of all the gravity mains and manholes. This will ensure maintenance and capital improvement dollars are spent and prioritized based on the actual conditions of the assets. In the upcoming years, we're going to be conducting survey and inventory. This will update the GIS system that assists everybody in properly locating the assets. Line maintenance crews can quickly respond to customer calls, and private development can assist residents and developers with accurate information. We'll also be conducting flow monitoring and isolation studies. This information is utilized to update the wastewater model to ensure capacity demands are being met and assisting in preventing future SSOs by proactively identifying projects where capacity may be needed for future growth. Another component is the I&I abatement component, and that handles current I&I issues. This program features will identify areas with storm drain connects, roof drains, and cracked mains where stormwater and rainwater can enter the wastewater collection system. With this data, projects can be identified that will reduce the I&I. In turn, it reduces the wastewater treatment plant costs since flows will be lowered, and possibly reduce the need for any additional sewer relief lines. An overview of the condition assessment program, as I mentioned, is the first step is the condition assessment. This aspect is to inspect and assess all the gravity mains and manholes in the city and assess them for replacement, rehabilitation, or maintenance based on the actual field conditions. This will be accomplished over 8 years with the inspections of 10 to 20% annually. After the initial pass through the system, we will reevaluate the frequency of the inspections that are needed for each main and manhole. This portion of the program is a 2-part program where we'll not only determine the assets, but we'll also be identifying the renewal and replacement projects and the maintenance work plans. I'll be talking in more detail about those aspects later on in the presentation. So as I mentioned, we're going to be breaking this down in the first step by inspecting the entire system over 8 years. We're going to be inspecting a portion each year. The first year is going to be the Deep Fork. Then as we progress out, we'll be doing the rest of the Deep Fork in year 2. And then we're going to move over to the North Canadian Lightning area for year 3 and 4. Year 5, we're going to tackle the North Canadian Lower. Year 6, we're going to increase our mileage to 650 miles in the Deer Creek and Chisholm Creek. Year 7, we're going to finish off the South Canadian and North Canadian. In year 8, we're going to wrap up in the Deer Creek with 186 miles, where we'll also be reevaluating to see which additional pipes may be needed for ongoing inspections. So as I mentioned, the first aspect is the condition inspection, where we're inspecting 10 to 20% annually. We will be utilizing a triage approach to be able to do this. We'll first be inspecting the smaller mains for acoustics. Those will be 12 inches and smaller. And if the results are signify an issue, then we'll go ahead and move forward with inspecting that pipe segment with CCTV for the smaller lines. For the larger lines, we'll be using, or that have higher flows, we'll be using a multi-sensor technology or sonar. The multi-sensor includes the HD camera, the laser, and the sonar. An example of this is when the city utilizes technology previously with good results on the 96-inch sewer. We'll also be inspecting all of the manholes at this time frame as well. After we get done with the inspections, we're going to move forward with the assessments of these. That's where we rate each system with the likelihood of failure and the consequence of failure. The likelihood of failure is based on the actual inspection results, dealing with the structural defects such as cracks and holes, or the maintenance items such as roots and grease, and then we'll give those a score. And then we'll also be looking at the consequence of failure, and that's more dealing with the impacts that the system might have if it was to fail to the public or if it was near a stream. So if it was a large relief line or if it was near a stream water body, those could have a higher consequence of failure. Based on that data, there could be a matrix based on the data that we see from the inspections, there could be a matrix that shows the assets in determining the next steps for each segment, such as if it needs to be maintenance, rehabilitated, or replaced. We'll also be able to determine if it's rehabilitation, the type of method needed for rehabilitation, such as slip lining or cured in place. And then for maintenance item, we'll be able to determine if it's grease or roots. So once we have all that information collected annually for each basin, then we'll have an annual capital improvement or an annual prioritized renewal and replacement projects, and this will be evolving each year. So as we move forward from year to year, we'll be incorporating the areas that we've previously identified and reprioritize those projects as needed. We'll also be getting operations and maintenance work plans, and there's we'll be identifying all the grease that need grease abatement, chemical root control, or a higher flushing frequency. And so the next steps, as you may have seen, is the request for qualifications, which is on the docket today. In that docket, we're going to be looking for qualified vendors with past experience on similar-sized municipalities or scope of work, as well as the capacity to handle the type of annual footage that we're requiring. And then once we're able to select the qualified vendors, then we'll put out the request for proposal. There we're going to be issuing it for 8 years, with annual work orders being issued annually for the previous year's work performance. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any items from trustees?
Move the request be approved.
So moved.
All in favor? We'll vote. Approved. General Manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. First, we had a contractor break on a Atoka pipeline, and it is under repair. We have it put back together, but we're testing it today, and it should be back in service tomorrow or the next day. So that delayed our water balance initiative to move water from southeast Oklahoma up to Oklahoma City. The lakes are generally where they should be this time of the year. Draper's about 5 feet down, Atoka is about 7. The other lakes are holding their own. It's been kind of dry. I don't see any change in the weather patterns, but hopefully we'll get some pretty good rains coming up in the next couple of months so that we can manage our water supply accordingly. That's all I have, sir.
Any questions? Are there any citizens to be heard? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.